actual.
My good side, please.
I will.
I got your good side. It's live.
All right,
Either
you got
one.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, good looking out.
Yeah, they just went so they actual phone just got this. And then I just got a shotgun mic, plug in here to. Oh wait, actually, I see the gal let me off. You sure? It's the easy to go. But I actually Day, you better get here. How you gonna join on the live feed? Get here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take your seats, please.
Hey y'all! We are currently short an extension cord to run the projector. If anybody happens to have one, either in their gear bag or in their car, and would mind letting us borrow it for this evening, that would be lovely. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Can y'all hear me out there? Can somebody comment yes, maybe, maybe not? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. It still sound okay? Trying to change out the mic so there's less cables going through.
someone sitting there? Oh, he is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not the one who can answer that question.
Can I sit there?
I was trying to take it.
Here, I'll go with you. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Can I have one of those seats? I need to be a timer for the debate. That's okay. I can still. Everyone okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And remind me again of your first name.
Erica.
Erica. Thank you. It was
I'm
covered.
the secretary.
Yes,
So
I
what
know.
else do you need?
So yeah, just timekeeping. Do you need so we'll announce for each segment. It's normally a minute. There's one question period at 90 seconds on.
Okay.
So
And then you have cards.
the red green cards, hold the red up when they're on time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll just scooch forward. How's that? Look at this crowd. This is great. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks so much. Hi everyone, we're going to be getting started in a minute or so. So if you have not found a seat and you're still milling around in the front of the room, it might be a good idea to find one now. For anybody who has questions in the lightning round, there are index cards up at the sign-in table. Grab one of those and we will be coming around to collect them during the forums.
It's alright. I know. I know what happened. I sure did. I've heard best behavior before.
Hey, honey.
Hey, man.
Mary Flowers.
Here.
Right here. Here.
There's a
Mary Flowers. How you doing? Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not involved. On either side of me, I can't even know. Yeah, I'm not.
We got issues.
So
If anybody's in front can go find a seat, we really appreciate it. We're going to get started. Just let me know when we've got the agenda up.
Depending on what the hell they're saying. Yes. And the same thing that happened with this one. That's the thing. I mean, who's sitting next to you?
Thank you everybody for joining us this evening and welcome to the 46th District Democrats. We're really excited to have a full house for our board. My name is Betsy Walker. I am the elections chair for the 46th District Democrats, and I'm going to be running the meeting tonight because our chair, Haley Walker, is unfortunately in a work conflict. So we are going to get started now. I'm going to try and move through the agenda as quickly as possible because we are getting started a little bit late. And we want to make sure we have time to get everything into. It's going to be a fairly busy evening. First off, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us. And can we all please rise to the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Next up, we're going to approve the agenda. The agenda should be up on the screen. Can I please hear a motion in favor of approving it? Excellent. All in favor? Great. Good to go. Okay, before we move into our candidate forum, we do have a couple of guest speakers who are joining us this evening. And in the interest of respecting their time, we're going to make sure that they get in now. First up, we have our wonderful sheriff, John Urquhart, joining us this evening to say just a few words.
This one working? Very good. I'm more of an opening act. How's that? I'm more of an opening act for the mayoral candidates. Let's see if we can figure out a way to make this work without feedback. There we go. I'm an opening act for all the mayoral candidates. So thanks to the 46 for having me. I've only got 2 minutes. I've got a 20-minute spiel that I do about immigration and local police. So I'm going to distill that down into 2 minutes. I was looking at one of President Trump's executive orders, the one that came out on January 25th. It said 3 things in that executive order, that particular one. First of all, he's going to hire 5,000 Border Patrol agents. He's going to hire 10,000 ICE agents. And he's going to get local police to sign up on the 287G program. And the 287G program allows the federal government to cross-commission local police to enforce federal immigration law. As long as I am sheriff, the sheriff's office will never be part of the 287G program, ever. The other thing that ICE would like to do is they would like to portray themselves as the local police. Makes their job much easier. But to do that, they have to have permission of the local sheriff or the local police chief. I will never give them permission to call themselves police. One quick true story and I'll be done. One of my deputies that works down in the city of Burien was sent to a blocking car accident, non-injury car accident. If you're a patrol officer, you do that. If not every day, you certainly go there every week. He got there, one car had rear-ended another car. The front driver, the one that was hit from behind, middle-aged Caucasian woman who lives in the area. The second car was a Hispanic woman and her young daughter, about 7 or 8 years old. The driver of the first car was agitated. The driver of the second car was beside herself. And the daughter was almost hysterical. And all of them were saying, "We don't need the police. Please go away. We can handle this ourselves. We've exchanged information." Because the Hispanic woman thought that if we showed up, we would deport her. And her daughter kept saying, "Don't take my mommy, don't take my mommy, don't take my mommy." This was last week down in Burien. The fear in the immigrant community is absolutely palpable. They think that if ICE doesn't come and pick them up, the local police will come and deport them. The message you can take back to your community is the local police will never deport anyone. My deputies will never work hand in hand with ICE. And if people have to be able to call 911 and know that we are not going to do anything to them except take their police report, please take that back, because I can't do my job if people are afraid to call 911. I've got a minute or two to take some quick questions, I'm told. Anybody? Anything? Yes, sir, right there.
Is that going to be true if we're interfacing with next generation identification system?
Yes, I'd say it will still be true. We will not enforce any immigration law. We will not work with the federal government on immigration, even with the new, what you're talking about, the identification program. It's not going to happen.
It'll be completely leaked up. What do you mean?
We will not have anything to do with that. We are not allowed, my deputies will never ask anybody for their immigration status, their green card, their papers, or anything like that. That's one question. Is there another one over here? I answered your question. How about up there, ma'am?
So, are you willing to talk to local police departments like Auburn Police Department and encourage them to adopt some of the policies? Because I know the organization that I work for, we're pushing ordinances in Auburn to make it a sanctuary city, but because the police don't have a policy like yours, so if any of our members in Auburn call the police, they can't guarantee that they're going to be.
I talked, your police chief down there is Bob Lee. I talked to Bob. I think he and I are on the same page, but better than that. In the state of Washington, there are 39 counties. That means there are 39 sheriffs. We all met about a month ago. Before we had this meeting, it was in Yakima, I called up the president and says, I want immigration on the agenda. I want to talk to my fellow sheriffs about immigration, so I could tell them exactly what I told you. I got there, and there is not one sheriff in the state of Washington who are honoring detainer requests. Not one. And the reason they're not doing that is because detainer requests are unconstitutional. There is no doubt about that. The federal courts have said that. The 39 sheriffs in the state of Washington have said that. And police organizations across the country have said exactly the same thing. So Auburn is good, Seattle is good, Renton, Kirkland, Bellevue, they're all on the same page as I am.
Hey, Sochi, I'm going to have to ask you to take this outside just because we've got a tight schedule. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, everybody.
Next up, we have our Seattle City Attorney, Pete Holmes.
Hi, everyone. I want to be brief. I know that there are other contested races that you want to hear from tonight, but I want to spend just a minute telling you why the city attorney's race is so critically important. There's still a month yet before someone else can get in this race. And I want to tell you why I want to still be your city attorney for a third term. A little bit about me. Sheriff Urquhart, with all due respect, I've opened for Pete Holmes, the comedian, when he came to perform at the Neptune Theater. And we've compared our two races, our two jobs together. I'm not going to quit my day job. He's the professional. But for me, what you should know about is when we talk about immigration reform, for instance, in 2010, a misdemeanor crime in the state of Washington meant that you were potentially subject to 365-day sentences. Even if it's suspended under federal immigration law, that meant if you were a non-citizen, mandatory deportation. And in my office, in my first year in office, I instructed all of my prosecutors to never ask for more than 364 days. And you would have thought that we had burned the flag and decried motherhood and the apple pie at the same time. The following year, the state legislature, following our lead, took 1 day off the maximum sentence for every misdemeanor crime in the state of Washington and removed the state of Washington misdemeanor crimes from facilitating a crazy, crazy federal immigration law. And so that's the kind of thing that your city attorney can do. I head an office of about 100 lawyers, and we support the policy initiatives of our mayor and our city council. And this is one of those cutting-edge cities that needs the best legal thought to advance cutting-edge issues, whether it's the $15 minimum wage and defending it, or it's the right to organize for TNC, Uber and Lyft drivers, for instance. Those are the kinds of things that my office handles every day. But whether it's helping to roll back the war on drugs with the legalization under 502, those are the kinds of things that my office is committed to, ensuring that the law serves the people rather than the other way around. And so I am honored to be your city attorney. I have passion for this job, and I want to continue being your city attorney. So I hope that you will keep that in mind, watch, see if other candidates do emerge. But again, I'm proud of the job I've done. I'm honored to be your city attorney, and I look forward to serving you in another term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to jump into our mayoral forum. So I'm going to ask all the mayoral candidates to come up. And while they're getting situated, we do have a few ground rules. For one thing, we have a very packed house tonight. And this room has excellent acoustics, which unfortunately means that if there's any conversations going on in the back, nobody can hear. So we're going to ask you, if you want to carry on a conversation, please take it out to the lobby. The second thing is, also for hearing reasons, we're asking people to please hold any applause until the end of the forum, rather than applauding after each speaker. I know you guys all love your candidates. If you do feel the need to do something, I would strongly recommend doing ASL applause, which looks something like this. Sorry, try not to drop the mics. But please limit yourself to that. No booze, no heckling. Our Sergeant at Arms this evening is Javier. He's a very nice man, and he would not like to have to ask you to leave. So please, you know, behave like grown-ups. Beyond that, I'm going to turn things over to our lovely moderator for this evening. Philippa Kassover is one of our board members, who's a very experienced moderator and does a wonderful job for us every year. Oh, one last thing. There are index cards floating around the audience for people who had questions for the lightning round. We will be coming around quietly to collect those, just to make sure that everybody has a chance to put their questions forward. The first round will be collecting for the mayoral race. If you have something specifically for the Seattle City Council, hold on to your card until that forum. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. For this first forum, we'll hear from the candidates for the mayor of Seattle. So I just want to quickly tell you the names of the folks that we have here with us this evening. Mary Martin, Mike McGinn, Carrie Moon, Ed Murray, Nikita Oliver, Jason Roberts, and Alex Zimmerman. Did I get everybody? Great, okay. So, candidates will have 1 minute to answer each of the 4 questions that I will put to them. A timekeeper is going to keep track of time. Our timekeeper is right here. She will raise a 30-second card at the halfway mark in the minute, and then she will also give you a 10-second card when you have 10 seconds left. Candidates, if your time is up, you need to end your response. If you need to end a sentence under our guidelines, I will allow it. However, if you try to go on further, I have been instructed to cut you off, and I will do that, politely but firmly. After these 4 questions, we're going to have a lightning round where we will ask yes/no questions. You each have a card, and you can hold that up to indicate your response. So, Mr. Zimmerman, you're going to be our first answer.
I'm very lucky. It's never happened with me before in my life.
So I just want to let you know a little bit about the questions. They've been gathered from PCOs, district members, and our own executive board, and the district elections committees finalized the questions. So we drew lots. Mr. Zimmerman's going to start, and when he has finished the answer, we will proceed to the candidate's left. So the microphone will come this way, and then it will go back around and start at the other end. So, any questions about the format, ladies and gentlemen? All right, good. Let's get started with the first question.
I want to make a very close statement for 40 seconds.
Mr. Zimmerman, We have rules, and I need for you
It's
to...
exactly what is I want to speak. It's not election, guys. It's a private business.
Mrs. Zimmerman, if you do not wish to follow the rules, we would
For this we
prefer
have
that
problem
you
for
stand
last 30
down.
years. It's a private
In
organization.
your best 1-minute elevator speech, please introduce yourself and tell us why you would be the best mayor for the city of Seattle and all its residents.
Hi, my name is Alex Zimmerman, and I come in council chamber every day, 1,200 times. So we have a huge problem in Seattle right now. Is this all BS what is I hear, you know what it means? I call this a masturbation, you know what it means? Nothing changed for 30 years what is I live in this city. A simple problem can be fixed. We need to fix it 2 different problems. First, we need to stop Amazon. Second, we need to stop all taxes. And third, we need to stop all legal immigrants. What has happened right now in Seattle is between Amazon and between legal immigrants. We between. This is exactly what's happened. So all this talking about this is for nothing. Will be another 30 years MPS. We need to stop in Amazon, is stopping illegal immigrant, 100,000 here, 100,000 here, out from downtown, from city. If we all have fixed all us problem. Very simple. Listen to me, guys. You need to stand up, wake up, in doing this. You don't doing this, will be same what as I told you 4 times before, because I go for election every year. So there's only one point, what is we need
Thank
doing.
you, Mr. Zimmerman. Please pass the microphone to the candidate to your left.
It's not.
Well, you have question to me?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Carrie Moon. Okay. Thank you for having this forum. Thank you for inviting us all. I feel like I'm at home here, even though I don't live in this district, because a room full of people who come out at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night to talk about politics and the future of our city are my people. Thanks once. I am running for Seattle, for mayor of Seattle, because I believe the future of our city is worth fighting for. We are a beautiful, diverse, vibrant city. We have incredible resources, wealth, a spirit of innovation, creativity, and intelligence. But we're becoming a city of haves and have-nots. I've worked for the past 20 years with civic leaders, with advocacy groups, with communities, and trying to address some of these problems that our city is facing. And what I've learned is this, that the solutions are not that hard to figure out. The hard part is building the political will and the courage to take the right choices to do the right thing. So that's why I want to be your leader. Thanks so much.
Hello, my name is Ed Murray, and I would love to have the opportunity to be your mayor again. 4 years ago, I said I wanted to model for this nation how progressives can come together and show the nation how we can do things. And we did that. We cooperated, we collaborated, we passed the minimum wage, we led the nation in the minimum wage without hurting small businesses. This city has grown, but it has not grown equitably. We launched the largest affordable housing program in this city's history, doubling the housing levy. The largest increase in bus transit service since Metro was created. These are just a few of the things that we have started to do, including pre-K. You all said yes to pre-K by 70%. That is going to have a huge impact on young people of color and kids from poor families. We've only just begun. I want to build on that collaborative approach that I think is the new Seattle way.
Good evening. I'm Mary Martin of the Socialist Workers Party. I'm running to present an alternative to the capitalist parties. What the working class is facing, the carnage of unemployment, stagnant wages, attacks on our political rights. These can only be answered by the working class. We call for the U.S. out of the Middle East, hands off Korea, and we call for a massive jobs program to put millions of people to work. We say everyone should come out on May Day and demand amnesty for all undocumented workers in this country. And we say the attacks on Muslims and Jews must be answered by all working people. We also call for normalization with the country of Cuba, which the U.S. is continuing its policy of trying to destroy the revolution for. All out for May Day, defend a woman's right to abortion, defend the silver miners on strike in Mullen, Idaho, U.S. hands off Korea. There are 2 classes and 3 parties. The Socialist Workers' Party is your party. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mike McGinn, and I'm really glad to be here. Every 4 years we have a conversation about the future of this city, and it's called the Mayor's Race. And I'm glad to participate in it, and I know we're joined by Carrie, who's my friend, Nikita, who's a powerful voice. There are things that Ed has done I support. I appreciate the work he's done in the Sanctuary City. I know we're gonna have an open and vigorous debate, and there are things that concern me in this city too. We are facing an affordability crisis. The growth is causing housing prices to go up, and we're paying for the impacts of that growth with taxes, regressive taxes on the people that can least afford to pay for it. I'm also really concerned that we're not involving people in how we address and solve the problems of the future. You know, I moved to Seattle. I love Seattle. I've been deeply committed, and I want to keep Seattle a great place that it has been for us and for the people that have made it and for the people that want to come here. And I'm really looking forward to having a debate about how we do that together. Thank you.
Good evening, Seattle. My name is Nikita Oliver, lawyer, educator, organizer. I'm excited to be here with y'all because we're living in a time of great political apathy, but what I see in Seattle is an inspiration and desire to be the progressive city that we talk about. We have the opportunity to be that, to truly be about affordable housing, accessibility, education, and opportunity for all, to take our police force from not simply being under consent decree, but being transformed in a way that we can model for other cities and transforming our criminal legal system. And I have a vision for that. I come from a different community, I come from a different background, and I think that's what our city needs, so I'm asking you to trust and believe that I can bring that vision with the People's Party to the forefront of our city. Speak back.
Hi, my name is Jason Roberts. I'm running Democrat. My campaign basically has 3 main pillars. I'm running on public health and safety. I'm running for fiscal responsibility, government transparency, and I'm also running to revitalize small business. Won't have time to cover all of that in these brief 60 seconds, but I will say I lean heavily on the public health and safety aspect. We have housing, we have homeless, we have a rampant drug problem. All 3 of these things tie in together intricately. I have a plan to bring relief to these things, and thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I only have 1 microphone working here. Could I get the podium mic back on, please? Test, thank you. In his recent book, The New Urban Crisis, scholar Richard Florida identifies Seattle as one of the world's leading technology and knowledge hubs. But he argues that Seattle, like the other superstar cities, is experiencing a crisis of growing inequality and segregation, rising housing prices, displacement of the poor, as well as the middle class. He makes the case that it is mayors and local officials who must now take the lead on issues of transit, affordable housing, and poverty. How do you plan to lead Seattle through this crisis and ensure a sustainable, livable city that accommodates and values all of its residents? And if we could start, please, with Ms. Mood.
I agree with. Hello?
Here.
Keep having bad luck. I agree with Mr. Florida that the solution to these problems is going to happen in cities. Cities were the birthplace of democracy, and they are the future of democracy. The collective will we have to achieve big transformative change exists in rooms like this. It exists when communities come together, and it's how we're going to tackle these problems on affordability, an economy that is where all the proceeds go to the 1%, the transit that is not keeping up with growth, homelessness. All these problems are problems that we can tackle here in the city. Hello? So I look forward to working together with communities like this, in rooms like this, with advocacy groups, with civic leaders, with other communities, and really talk about how do we build common vision and a collective will to solve these big problems together. Because we can't look to the state, and we definitely can't look to the federal government to take care of this for us.
Thank you. I actually think this is a key election issue of our time. It's the issue of growth and affordability. You see all that growth that's happened out there during the 3 years I've been mayor? Almost 90% of it was permitted before I ever entered office. So we knew we wanted to grow as a city. We designated urban villages, but we never decided how we were going to grow affordably. And that's why for the first time ever, we now have a mandatory requirement that if you build in this city commercial development, if you build residential development, you will pay or you will build affordable housing. That's number one. Number two, we all know that Washington State has a regressive tax system. And we can all argue about what we're going to do about it. These discussions have been going on since I was a kid in this city. But what I'm going to send to council in the next 2 weeks is a proposal for a high-end income tax. Now it's going to be challenged. Bear with me, it's too soon to cheer. It's going to be challenged in court. But if we win in court and we can get that high-end income tax, we can shift our regressive taxes on sales tax and on property tax onto that high-end income tax. We did it on the minimum wage, we can do it on an income tax.
All of these ills that are described are precisely because of the system of profit, which capitalism is. When they build houses, it's not to take care of human needs. It's an investment for bondholders, which are paid first, forever, in perpetuity, because that's the point under capitalism. Same with healthcare. It's not to take care of our healthcare needs. It's to enrich in the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies. Same with education. Contrast that to the Cuban Revolution, where healthcare, education, housing are rights as human beings. This can only happen when the working class runs society instead of the billionaires.
We have been having growth, and growth comes with serious costs. As the question pointed out, rising housing costs, more traffic, people being forced out onto the street. And our tax system is regressive. If you're at the higher income levels, you pay 5% of your income in local taxes and fees. I'm not talking state, I'm talking in the city. But if you're lower income, you're going to be paying 15% of your taxes in local taxes and fees. And consider how that's driving the middle class out, but consider how that's affecting the lower classes or women or people who are struggling, who make less money and inequitably do so as well. In my announcement, I called for an income tax because we do have to ask the people that are making the most to cover growth. And if that is not found to be legal, we need to tax the big corporations that are benefiting from the growth so that they can pay for the impacts of the growth that are falling upon this city. Thank you.
So what we're talking about are the most impacted in our city, the vulnerable, the marginalized, people of color, and the cash poor. Every great change that has occurred in this city in the past 8 years has been because those communities have risen up and used their voice to ask for that change, shut down chambers, gone in front of people's houses, into their offices until we got the change that we most needed. It has not been because politicians have moved for it. CALA, MHA, 15, the No New Youth Jail campaign, Block the Bunker, even the consent decree have all been because of the movement of the people. What we need are leaders that will listen to the needs of the most impacted in our communities and actually act on those solutions that are being brought forward by them. We need a progressive tax. We need the city to leverage its bonding capacity to build affordable housing now. And these are all solutions that have already been brought forward to us by the most impacted in our city. If Seattle is going to be a place that closes the opportunity gap, it'll be because we receive the solutions of the most impacted and vulnerable in our city as the solution that needs to be actuated. Thank you.
Blah, blah, blah.
Seattle certainly has some growing pains, to be sure. From where I see it, the biggest problem we have right now is wage disparity. if you were born in this town, you probably can't afford to live here. You have the tech industry and pretty much everybody else. I would like to see growth slow down. I would like to see these corporations start hiring from within locally, as opposed to importing 1,000 people a week from out of town. I would also like to start investing in our communities. Small businesses all but disappeared. Like, these cranes didn't get here by accident. Somebody opened the door and said, build, 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 and forgot all the people that live in marginalized communities that are just getting priced out. I would like to incentivize these communities to build businesses within and keep that money locally and start rebuilding the middle class.
I love America and I believe in American capitalism. But Seattle, I call this #1 fascist city in America, and I explain to you why. This fascist with idiotic face is a classic fascism. When Amazon, for example, in another corporation, Vulcan, Nordstrom, Starbucks, together with government, like Mayor Murray or Don Constantine, use people for political and personal interests. It's a classic fascism. When you not back up, you don't change the status, not elect people like me, so can fighting for your right against this fascism, nothing will be changed for another 30 years. I probably cannot stay for another 30 years, but I guarantee you, it will be. You need change your mind. You need change your stopping. Elect with your asses. Start elect with your head. You know what this means? Start thinking. Fascism is what is we need stopping in Seattle. Fundamental fascism. A pure fascism. This is exactly what is we have. This it? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Murray, Mayor Murray. Here's the third question. Homelessness is a multifaceted problem with different strategies required for assisting different populations. I'd like you to name 3 approaches you would take to housing people and families experiencing homelessness. Mayor Murray.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I think it's very, very important to realize what we see in Seattle, we're seeing in suburban cities in King County, Thurston County, up and down the West Coast. And something radically wrong has gone wrong in America, and we can talk about the roots of it. Homelessness is often a mask for a whole bunch of other problems. 25% of the homeless come out of the foster care system. 30% are African American in a city with 6% African American population. But this is what we did in 30 seconds. When I became mayor, I invited the Obama administration in. They said, Seattle King County does one of the worst jobs of handling homelessness. You focus on shelters, and you have people in shelters for decades. You need to focus on the front end. You need to focus on services and housing first. So that's #1. #2, your shelter system should be a place where people are there for a few days and not forever. And #3, you need to get real about the fact that we have other issues that we have to address, such as addiction, such as mental illness, that are not being treated. We can do these things. We can't solve homelessness ourselves, but we can lead. We're behind the ball on this. But that's why I brought in the experts who told us we've got to do it differently. Sorry.
Millions of workers are 2 paychecks away from being homeless. And once you hit that point, you join the ranks of those without a place to live, or you're living in your car, which presents a whole other set of problems. There are tens of thousands of buildings available, homes kept off the market, apartments kept off the market, because it's not profitable to allow a human being to live in them. If we start with the human needs, homelessness can be addressed, joblessness can be addressed, but this doesn't happen under capitalism because that is not the point. Only the working class can solve these problems. And to do that, we need to be in political power and to overturn capitalism.
think the first and most important thing was that as this problem, which we've had for a while, began to scale up dramatically, we had to scale up our response. And I knew from my own time as mayor that help wasn't coming from the state or federal government. In fact, the federal government had been reducing the homeless funding through the community development block grants. We're in one of the richest times in our city's history in terms of tax revenues. The city budget has grown $250 million over the last 3 years, 25% increase. We should be prioritizing our resources to meet the scale of the problem, to one, make sure there's a shelter, a roof for everybody who needs one. And that is an emergency response that requires an emergency effort to do so. We should invest in 24-hour shelters so people aren't going in at night and going out during the day, which really makes that transition harder. We should be, again, also putting more dollars into services and mental health services and drug addiction services. And again, we're going to have to look to ourselves and the wealth that's being created in this city so that we scale up our response to the scale of the problem.
First of all, encampments are a mitigation to dealing with issues of homelessness in our city. One thing we have to stop doing is sweeps. What sweeps do is they disrupt the stability of people who are already in an unstable position. They lose everything they have, including their paperwork. We need low barrier options. People are dealing with addiction, they're traumatized, and in order for them to get stable to deal with their addiction, they need low barrier option places to live. We need 24/7 storage and transitional housing that allows people to get on their feet. We also need to leverage our city's bonding capacity to immediately build housing that is appropriate for families and individuals. And then we need a voucher system or some other system to prevent people from losing their homes. The number of times that we've leveraged property taxes to deal with issues in our city has put a lot of people out of their homes, people who are just a paycheck away from being homeless. And so we need to figure out a way how we keep people in their homes as we're trying to build more housing to get people into homes.
This problem is so much bigger than just finding homes for these people. What you're really doing here is rebuilding these people's lives. I see this every day. It's not just homeless people and a group. You have so many different issues that are affecting these people. Many of these people's free will has just been compromised by drug and alcohol abuse. They're wandering without hope, without a path forward. They can't even begin to think about getting a job or getting a house until they deal with those addictions. We have really got to increase the low barrier options for getting these people into treatments, taking care of the heroin, the alcohol, the meth that they're on, then getting them into these temporary housings. We've done a great job so far with tiny houses, sanction camps, and whatnot. I agree with what Nikita says about the sweeps. We really have to address the issues that are keeping these people on the streets and then work with them to get them into real housing, real work, and real lives.
Thank you.
I shame for Seattle. We have a 15 billionaire. Who knows in this room what it means? $1 billion. How many from you have in your hand 100 grand cash? Who? Oh, you see, we're talking about billion. You can fix this problem very easy and fast. And I will do the same what is doing Trump right now. I will go to billionaires like Bill Gates or Bezos, what is have approximately $100 billion each, and another billionaire, and ask, please give 1% of your money to fix it homeless in Seattle. This is supposed to be shame. So most richest location in America have this BS, what is I see for 20 years. I never see this before in my life. I live in many big cities in Europe, in Vienna, in Roma, in Moscow. I never see like this before. The most richest city in America. So when I come, be a mayor, you elect me, and I will come to this billionaire, like Trump doing this right now, and ask very simple question. Guys, who are you? Are you animal or you are human?
Thank you,
Give
Mr. Zimmerman.
1% to people.
I'd like to talk about three things as a solution for homelessness. First, let's acknowledge that homelessness is a symptom, it's not the problem. The problem is that we have an economy that does not build prosperity for everyone, and we have a housing affordability crisis. And I'd like to encourage us to strike this problem at its root, stop putting Band-Aids on the symptoms, and go fix the problem where the problem is. I encourage you to look at my website, carriemoonformayor.com, because I lay out all the solutions around economic prosperity and housing affordability there. Second, I think the housing first policies others have talked about is the right policy. People experiencing homelessness have a lot of other problems in their life, and getting them into secure housing with a roof over their head where they can sleep at night and feel safe is the very first step to getting people back on their feet. And that has to be a range of solutions, things like making the shelters work more efficiently, getting better, more tiny house villages and other temporary solutions in neighborhoods sponsored by churches. And then finally, the third part of the solution is better coordination and data sharing. There are a lot of people in this city working really hard to solve this problem, but we need a centralized system of data, a centralized place for people to go as a first step, and better coordination between agencies, the city, service providers, and nonprofits.
Thank you. Okay, I have one more of these questions and then we'll move to the lightning round. The 46th Legislative District includes North Seattle, Lake Forest Park, and Kenmore. How can the Seattle mayor best collaborate with its neighbors to tackle regional issues such as housing and transportation, preserving our environment, tackling the issue of climate change, and the opioid epidemic? These are problems that know no city boundaries.
These are not problems that are endemic to Seattle. They're nationwide. They're part of the carnage that's besetting the working class. It's also part of the reason why Donald Trump got elected, because he talked about the opioid addiction. He talked about the joblessness. These are things that working people feel very deeply in this country. These have to be addressed by the working class. None of the capitalist politicians have a clue or an ability to solve this. The people that work for a living, the people whose family members are dying from opioid addiction, the people who are unemployed, we're the only ones who have the ability to solve this, because it's not, the solution is not tied to profits of a tiny minority. And this requires a revolution that only the working class can make.
When I had the job of mayor, I met every month with the Lake Washington mayors. We'd go from town to town and meet in their city hall with all of the mayors that fronted on Lake Washington, because whether you're a big town, or a small town, we do all share regional problems. I mean, think of housing as an example. As the middle class and lower income people, families are being forced out of town, that causes longer commutes, more traffic, more pollution, more challenges for people to make a living. So that's something we have to work together on. As mayor, I put together a statewide, cities work together statewide on better transportation financing. I put together a statewide coalition to stop coal and oil trades. We had a coalition of I-5 corridor cities to work against the sexual trafficking of minors. I worked to get Sound Transit on the ballot by 2016. I believe in regionalism, because only by working together can we address these issues.
Just last week, I met with a group of homeowners, and what I was told was that when the neighborhood councils were taken out of neighborhoods, people felt like they stopped having a direct line of communication to the people who had the decision-making power. And I think one thing we need to do is figure out, how do we allow neighborhoods to be self-determined and self-empowered about the sort of things that are most needed in their spaces. I know up here, people are asking for sidewalks. They're asking for changes in transit. And I think the answers to those questions actually exist within the communities. And we have to be willing to come sit with you all and hear from you and receive from you what the solutions are that make your community the sort of place that you want to be in, that you feel safe living in, but that you also feel like you can thrive in. And so I believe it's finding ways that I, as an organizer, I've been spending my entire career doing, is getting with folks, developing or building solutions, and then figuring out how those of us who have bureaucratic power actually help you finance those solutions and allow you to have the decision-making power about what your neighborhood looks like.
Well, I think those problems listed are certainly not unique to the 46th district. But what it comes down to is meeting and listening. And that's what I've been doing since I announced my candidacy in February. Going around and talking with community leaders and talking with drug and alcohol counselors and really listening. I mean, that's what it's about and what you want from your elected officials. You want to know that when they're standing in front of you, that they hear your voice. This is not a one-way conversation. I'm not up here just pitching me. I'm here to hear your problems and understand what I can do to make your lives better, to make your city run better, to make your traffic flow, to make your housing more affordable, as well as everyone else in the city. And that's what I want to do, is listen to what you have to say and take that into account when I make decisions.
Seattle is a part of the United States of America. And I want what is you understand this. So all taxes what is we pay in Seattle or pay to U.S. government is us money. If we want to use this money, what is we want, you understand, is us money. For doing this, we need to change a system. How we can do this? First, we need to change principle of election. Because everything what is I see here for 30 years, I see before in Soviet Union for 30 years. You understand about it? It's a serious problem. My proposition what is staying for many years, and I asked council and mayor many times, open Bertha room in City Hall every week. So this will be like in London, you know what this means, this park, what is everybody can go and talk. This can fundamentally change everything. 5 years I'm talking about this. No one council, no one mayor talking about this and give me permission. For my money, I will pay for this. We will pay for this. This is exactly what is we need to do. Open Bertha room in City Hall every week for open public conversation. We need to bring America back to us father. What is we look? Stand up America, stop corruption, restore republic.
So, ever since the financial crisis happened in 2008, I've been studying why didn't we fix it? We have this system of capitalism, and I'm going to have to agree with Mary here, she's on the right track. We have a system of capitalism that throws off all kinds of problems. Climate change, oppression of so many people, an economy that only works for the wealthy, a democracy that only answers to power and money. And I feel like the solution lies in addressing that problem. How do we build an economy that works for everybody? How do we create a vision on the left for what that economy can look like? One that builds prosperity, where everybody gets to share in the benefits of growth, and at the same time reform democracy. We have a system of democracy where whoever has the best lawyer or the most money wins every single fight. Climate change is happening because the oil industry decided they would rather make profits than protect our planet for the future of our children. And we have to fix both those problems at the same time. A strong, compelling, irrefutable economic vision for the left, and a democracy that really works to do the right thing for the well-being of everyone, not just the corporate elite.
Well, thank you. The question was working with regional leaders. First of all, I'm very, very happy to have the endorsement of Senator Frock, as well as Bob Ferguson, as well as every labor union that is endorsed in this mayoral race. And the reason I mention that is because we have worked together these last 3 years to get things done. We went down to Olympia to get the authority united so that we could put Sound Transit on the ballot. We worked together united with our suburban mayors so that Sound Transit would pass. And finally, as you know, I've led an effort with 2 other mayors in this in this country, one a Democrat and one a Republican, to stand up to the Trump administration on sanctuary cities, or as I like to call them, constitutional cities, because we're obeying the Constitution. And this is what I have to tell you. That leadership that we are performing at the national level, the decision was made that this city, Seattle, should be the first city in the nation to sue the president on sanctuary cities. And I believe we'll win that one as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So now for the lightning round. You each have a card, and we need for you to show the audience your response, and I will start with the first question. Number 1, do you support the HALA Grand Bargain? Please stand up.
Stand up, America.
Do you support the HALA Grand Bargain? Okay, number 2. Somebody get me some water. Number 2, many U.S. cities charge a 5% one-time developer impact fee to pay for infrastructure so that growth pays for growth. Would you support a 5% developer impact fee for Seattle? Yes or no? Okay, number 3. Seattle lacks 11,000 block fronts of sidewalks, 2/3 of them north of 85th Street, dating to when the area was annexed in 1954. Are you willing to make accessible, safe sidewalks for all a higher priority? Yes or no? Okay, number 4. Would you support a zoning change to allow a limited number of duplexes and triplexes in single-family neighborhoods? Yes or no? Number 5. Seattle's tree canopy is quickly shrinking. Would you support restoring a tree canopy goal in the Comprehensive Plan 2035? Number 6. Do you support an income tax for the city of Seattle as a test case for the state Supreme Court? Number 7. Would you lobby for changing the state law that currently prohibits rent stabilization? Number 8. The North Police Precinct serves 40% of Seattle's residents. Do you think the people of Seattle would be better served by 2 smaller precincts instead of the bunker? Number 9. Would you support a city council resolution to move towards 0 youth detention? Number 10. Do you support the current city policy regarding the sweeps of homeless encampments? And our last question, only Democrats are eligible to be endorsed by the 46th. Do you consider yourself a Democrat? Thank you very much. That was our last question. We very much appreciate your attention, and we very much appreciate the candidates who've taken the time to join us tonight. Please join me in thanking the candidates for mayor's election.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. At this time, I'm actually going to ask Rod Dembowski, who is our current county council member for position District 1, to come up and say a few words.
Good evening. I'm your intermission act, Rod Dembowski, King County Council, up for re-election. Would like to have your support. I'm a member of the 46th and Precinct Committee officer as well, have been for a long time. Listen, on the County Council, I've worked to bring a nation-leading 12-week paid parental leave program, which set the standard, was recognized by the Department of Labor. I've worked to quadruple our ballot drop boxes, leading to more than 50% of the ballots returned last year done in a ballot drop box, and expand the Voting Rights Act by having ballots in Spanish and Korean for the very first time. It's been met with great success. If elected to return to the council this fall, these are my priorities. Number one, housing. That's all right. This is the transition. Number one, housing. While some are pushing for a new 10th of a penny sales tax to fund arts and culture, which is a good thing, Councilmember Gossett and I have introduced the same legislation to fund housing and mental health services. I think that's the priority, and I think we should make that happen. I think that with respect to mental health, which is a key cause of homelessness, we have Harborview Hospital. It's owned by the county. I want to develop a nation-leading mental health and behavioral health institute to address substance use disorder and mental health challenges, and put our Involuntary Treatment Act court there, put in-bed and in-treatment services there. We should not be having the crisis we have with the resource we have here, and that's a priority, and we can fund it and do it. I'm going to work on that. And third, on the environment, I'm very proud to chair the Transportation Economy Environment Committee. Well, we've got a national administration that doesn't believe in climate change and is dismantling the EPA and everything we believe in. I want to fight back locally. I led the charge to green our transit fleet. We're going to be the nation-leading, all-electric, zero-emission battery bus fleet in the country with 120 of those, and we're going to have our full fleet green starting in 2020. No more diesel. And on water quality, we have our Metro division. I've supported and voted for more funding for that. And finally, on open space and special lands and farmlands. With the growth that's coming to this region, we have a limited and closing opportunity to protect the last great lands in King County. We've undertaken a project to identify the special 60,000 acres that remain and should be protected. And in the next year or so, we want to come to you with a ballot measure to protect forever for future generations those special lands, and that's something that I'll spend some time on and bring back to you. That's what I want to work on. I hope to come back and earn your endorsement. Now on to the show for City Council, Position 8. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to ask the candidates for Seattle City Council Position 8 to come up. And we're going to throw in the local gentleman for Position 9 as well, because you know we might as well. So Eric, if you want to come up too, we're going to throw you in with everybody for Position 8. So you're getting the same question for both. So thank you.
Thank you. Surprise.
Sorry.
Surprise.
No.
So you understand about what I'm talking. It's surprise.
Okay, but we're probably going to have to cut the yes-no questions for you for the lightning rounds if you don't do it now just because of time. So it's really up to you what you want to do. At this time, just a reminder, we're asking people to please hold any applause till the end. Any boos or hisses, etc., will get you politely asked to leave. And again, anybody in the back, if you have a conversation going on, please take it out into the lobby so everybody else down here can hear. Thank you so much, guys. Oh, one more thing. There are baskets going around for donations, which helps us defray the cost of renting this space. Any contributions are deeply appreciated.
Okay.
Official selfie, right? Okay. Okay.
I need to ask the questions now. Okay, very good. So, candidates will have 1 minute to answer each of 4 questions. You just heard them, so you should be well prepared. The timekeeper is here. She's going to keep track of the time. She'll raise a card when it's 30 seconds left, and again when it's 10 seconds left. Candidates, if your time is up, you need to end your response. If you need to end a sentence under our guidelines, I will allow it. However, if you try to go on further, I will cut you off. I'll do it politely, but firmly. So, candidates have drawn a lot. As to who will be asked the first question, the order will proceed to the candidate's left until we reach the end of the line, and then we'll circle back to the other end. Timekeeper is here. Anybody got any questions about the format? Okay, good. Let's do the first question.
Can you tell everybody to...
Excuse me?
Tell everybody to be quiet.
Okay, we need quiet in the back of the room, please. It's hard for us up here to hear everything. Okay, your best 1 minute elevator speech. Tell us why you are running for office and describe your priorities for council action.
All right. Hi, my name is Mac McGregor, and I'm running for City Council. If elected, I will be the city and the state's first transgender person elected to office. Why is that important? Because we need diverse voices at the decision-making tables, especially when we're facing a time where federal funding is going to be pulled, most likely from our city, which affects the most marginalized communities. I will fight for the gender wage gap. I want to help work on that. I'm a small business owner of 23 years. I built a small business from the ground up to a successful business. I don't think we have a small business advocate on the council now. I will fight for affordable housing and for all marginalized communities. Mac McGregor, thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Nelson and I'm meeting my colleagues for the first time because I just declared today. I am running because I am a progressive small business owner and environmentalist, and I've got about 10 years of experience working on city council, advancing social justice and environmental policy. My husband and I started Fremont Brewing in 2008 and grew it to about 60 employees today. They all make well above minimum wage and have excellent benefits and a pretty generous beer allotment. And Fremont Brewing is a leader in environmental and policy and in conservation. But I'm not running on my brand. I'm running on my experience and the breadth of issues that I'm interested in. And I will be able to translate the shared values of Seattle into actionable policy going forward.
Can I please remind those in the back of the room to be quiet?
And make sure you hold the mic up to everyone.
Hi, I'm Heisam. I'm running for Seattle City Council position 8. I'm a doctor. I work at Northwest Hospitals and I specialize in caring for older adults and those who suffer from mental illness. Every day I see 27 patients at Northwest Hospitals. 20 of them are homeless. This has shown me just how public policy works in Seattle and how it leaves so many suffering despite living in a city of plenty. It inspired me to run for city council and to give the vulnerable a voice at the political table. In 2012, my partner and I, Roberto, moved to Seattle. We knew we would be welcomed here. I'm a gay Muslim Arab American. He's a Peruvian immigrant. At the time we fell in love, he was undocumented. We knew that Seattle would be a place we could get married, have the same rights as everyone else, and live the American dream. The events regarding the last presidential election scared us. I'm sure it scared you. It inspired me to fight for the vulnerable, to fight for affordability, to fight for healthcare and give people's lives the dignity and value they deserve, and to expand cultural services. Thank you.
Good evening, 46. My name is Teresa Mosqueda, and I'm running for Seattle City Council. I'm honored to be here with you tonight, where I have the endorsement of Representative Justin Farrell, former Representative Phyllis Gutierrez-Kinney, and elected Democratic leaders like Attorney General Bob Ferguson and Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. It's elected leaders like these and community leaders that have stood up to support me because they have seen me at work, fighting for healthcare as a human right, fighting against income inequality, fighting to pass $15 an hour right here in Seattle, secure scheduling and sick leave, We took our efforts statewide because after 4 years of getting stalled by the Republicans in the Senate, we decided to take it to the voters. I helped to draft the minimum wage and sick leave initiative, and you helped to pass it this last election. And I'm running for Seattle City Council to stand up for the rights of every resident in our city, to make sure that we can afford to live in this city that we work, live in, and retire in, and to make sure that we create a local economy that works for all, not just the wealthy few. My name is Teresa Mosqueda. I hope to have your support.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Grant. Is that loud enough? Okay. My name is John Grant. I'm the former executive director of the Tenants Union of Washington State, and I want to open this up with a very short story. I'm in this because of really one woman that I met. Her name was Debbie Brewer. She lived at the Theodore Apartments, which is not too far from the 46. And some of you might remember the story of the Theodore Apartments. There was a number of senior citizens who were being evicted by a developer, and that developer pushed those folks out. Now, we were able to fight and stop Debbie from becoming homeless, but they still lost their housing. We went to City Hall, we asked for the city to intervene, and they did not. I'm in this because I want somebody at City Hall who's going to fight tooth and nail for this community, to prevent the economic evictions that we're seeing across this town. I have taken a pledge not to accept any corporate money or any money from downtown developers, so you know I'm accountable to you. We've already raised $120,000 in democracy vouchers, and 90% is purely from the voucher program. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ryan Asbert, and I'm running on kind of a unique platform. My background is in software development. I work specifically in a field called user experience. And it's this experience that I'm trying to take to my platform, in that I am going to be building a website to let you log in and participate in the government process like you've never been able to before. It's obviously a very big venture, but we got a lot of work ahead of us. The idea is to build a process that is defined by you rather than a government process that is leaving people out. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shalice Seacrest. I'm a mother, an activist, and an attorney. As an attorney, I've worked in Seattle over the last decade on police reform. For 4 years, I served with Pete Holmes on the Seattle Police Department Office of Professional Accountability. When we weren't able to get the changes that we needed, we brought in the Department of Justice to make sure that all of our communities were safe. As an attorney, I've also made sure that I protected our small business owners. On the Seattle Tunnel project, they were discriminating against marginalized communities. We made sure that everyone had an opportunity. As an activist, I've done Block the Bunker. I made sure that those who are peacefully protesting at the Black Lives Matter or at the executive ban, that they are able to be released. For free, I represent them at the pretrial release to bring them home. I am a mother. I want to make sure that we close the school to prison pipeline. I want to make sure that my child, like yours, has the ability to excel in this job section with science, technology, engineering, and math. We can do this together. Shalice Seacrest. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charlene Strong. Some of you may have remembered a story in 2006. It was a dreadful evening. It was the night that I realized that I had no rights in the city of Seattle. My partner was the woman that was trapped at the Madison Valley House. And as I stood there trying to save her life, I did not realize what I was going to endure when I got to Harborview. You see, at that moment I was told I was no one. No one should ever have that feeling. For the last 10 years I've been traveling this nation, speaking as an advocate for equality, for families, and for people who are left out of the equation of civil rights. I'm chair of the Washington State Human Rights Commission. I was appointed by Governor Gregoire in 2008 and reappointed by Governor Inslee. I've spent many, many years making sure that the words equality and equity and dignity were a part of everyone's life. We have a city that is growing and we don't know what to do about that. And we're trying to get in front of it, but we're not in front of it. We're trying to catch up. Right now, you need leaders that are listening to you. I've been doing that for 10 years. I'm asking for your help and your support and your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In his recent book, The New Urban Crisis, scholar Richard Florida describes how successful city technology hubs, which include Seattle, are experiencing a crisis of growing inequality and segregation, rising housing prices, and displacement of the poor as well as the middle class. He argues that local officials must now take the lead on solutions to issues such as transit, affordable housing, and poverty. What new policies would you support to ensure a sustainable, livable city that accommodates and values all of its residents? And we'd like to start now, please, with Sarah.
Affordability is of course the issue that a lot of us are concerned about, and it's a very complex policy issue. First of all, we do need a lot more units brought online and a lot of new innovative forms of housing to accommodate people that live here and are struggling, and also people that are coming to Seattle to live for jobs and also for their families. But it's not just about building, it's also about using the policies we already have on the books that can really help improve the prospects for people like seniors that are on fixed incomes. I would work to expand the senior income property tax exemption, promote it. It's an underutilized program, and make sure that we are able to provide a number of different forms of housing. And the last thing, we really do need to take a serious look at the property tax increases that are coming from voter-approved initiatives. And we need to make sure that, that is something that we are passing with a mindfulness of what it does to our affordability.
This is the reason I decided to run for city council, is I got tired of watching patients not have the things that they needed. I get tired of having conversations where patients were asking me, Dr. Gwaley, when can I go home? And I would say, when I find you a home. It inspired me to think about this in a critical way. I have read this book, and what he talks about is what's called the missing middle. And the missing middle is essentially the housing that is affordable to those who are of the middle class. The city has to take an active role in developing housing for this population of people. The way it does it is by using its bonding capacity to aggressively work with nonprofit developers to develop housing that can be affordable. By doing this, it actually takes everyone's property values down and allows people into the market. These are the people who are your kids, who need housing. Thank you.
I don't think it's any surprise to anybody in here that we have a public health crisis. And the public health crisis is the lack of affordable housing. We have a housing crisis now that demands solutions now. I'm a renter, and over half the residents in Seattle are renters. I would be the only renter sitting on city council. And the increase in price for me as a renter is the same situation that homeowners are experiencing, because we don't have enough housing in our community now. I want to create a Seattle where those who live here, those who want to retire here, those who are studying here, and those who are playing here can afford to live here. So let's move forward with the recommendations. Make sure that we have mandatory affordable housing provisions in each of the new buildings that are going up. Get that money from developers. Make sure they pay their fair share. And if they're not developing it, then we want to have that money invested in housing now. I want to see community-owned housing, community land trust, and I want to see us make sure that we're addressing the affordability problems that all of us share. Let's get our homes together.
Hi everyone. So for the past 10 years, I've been an affordable housing advocate. For 5 of those years, as the head of the tenants union, I would see firsthand what the housing crisis means, what it means to lose your home, to be evicted, to be facing the streets. And there are a lot of people who are going to run for office and tell you a lot of really progressive rhetoric. But when it comes down to it, it's what are you going to do? I'm the only candidate that's put out a very specific housing policy platform. Now, how many of you are seeing these apartment complexes go up in your neighborhood? Raise your hand. How many of you think it's affordable? Say yes or no. They're $2,000 a month or more. I'm calling for a requirement for 25% of all new development to be affordable to working class and low income people. And if you aren't willing to stand and fight for working and low income people to make sure that they can live in Seattle, we are simply not doing enough. Now, not only that, but we also have to give tenants more rights. And I'm calling for an office of the tenant advocate so that the city will help you enforce your rights if you're a renter.
Obviously, the housing situation is very complicated, and there's been a number of different solutions that have been tried by many people with varying degrees of success. Obviously, we need to start looking into what is working, what isn't working, and start forming more progressive and cohesive solutions to these issues. The basis of my platform is to bring everybody to the table and create a place where we can get far more feedback from far more specific neighborhoods and legislative districts and figuring out solutions that work for everybody. And it's with this platform in mind that we intend to approach these issues and start finding solutions that work for everybody. Thank you.
At the time with the growing divide between the have and have-nots, we are building power from the ground up. Right now, I serve the central area in fighting gentrification and displacement. I was one of the participants as Economic Development Chair for the NAACP as part of the Central Area Collaborative, where we made sure that small businesses were not being displaced as the area was growing forward. Currently, I also serve as enforcing the labor laws for the Office of Labor Standards. Not only did I work to make sure that we pass minimum wage, pass ban the box, pass paid sick leave, but I'm also making sure that those laws are enforced inside of the communities and the lives that are impacted most. I'm also working to make sure that we are creating job opportunities, not anything silly like building more jails or building police bunkers or locking people up. We want to make sure that 60% of those who were incarcerated, it's decreased over the last 10 years. Give your money towards what's working, not locking them up.
So one of the things that I have really been most disturbed by is the unconscionable and inhumane way in which we are seeing people living in this city. As someone who cares deeply and passionately for this city, it breaks my heart at the absolute tragedy that we're witnessing in our city. And we have to become the most creative city in the nation, because frankly, a lot of cities have not been able to get this right. Seattle has a unique ability. We're one of the most educated cities in the world. And we have the most resourceful and compassionate people in this city. And it's going to take every single one of us to roll up our sleeves and to say, listen, this is what we have been doing, and this is what is working. Let's amplify that. Let's move towards making sure that no one is living in the tragedy in which they're living. To be honest with you, we don't even have enough mental health beds in this city if we wanted to take care of people. We don't have the ability and we don't have the infrastructure. We need to focus on making sure we have a city that can actually take care of its people.
So I was appointed by Mayor Mike McGinn back in 2011 to be on Seattle's LGBTQ Commission to advise the mayor and city council about issues that affect the LGBTQ community. And of course, when you're talking about homelessness and affordable housing, this affects communities like the LGBTQ community disproportionately, especially the transgender community. So I've worked a great deal on this. I'm also, like Teresa, my wife and I are renters right now, and I helped work on move-in fees legislation because we had to go through moving last May because the homeowner we were renting from decided to sell his home because, of course, the value had gone up a great deal. And we were having a really difficult time finding something affordable to move into, especially when it cost us $7,000 move-in fee. by the time you pay first, last, and a security deposit. And so I've worked really hard on that. I believe we have to address these problems. We have to ask more from developers. And I think we also need to work on education programs with all the techie people we have in our city to help people who their jobs don't make enough money to live in this city. Let's help people get higher education and the kind of jobs that do.
And for our third question here, homelessness is a multifaceted problem with different strategies required for assisting different populations. Name 3 policies you would support to house people and families experiencing homelessness.
So it's no surprise that homelessness is a significant topic in the city. I see it every day. Currently at Harborview, there are 60 mental health patients boarding in our emergency room because there is no place to send them. The way you would address this problem is by starting with a program called Housing First. It was a program that was developed in Seattle, and then Seattle didn't scale it. It is a low barrier solution of providing housing emergently to individuals. The second thing is that you actually have to allow people to stay in housing, which means that you have to allow 24/7 housing. And the reason that's important is when you're applying for a job, someone will want to call you and ask you what your address is. When you're constantly in transit, this is a trauma every time, and therefore you are never able to secure a job. The third thing that I would work on is mental health. And mental health is really near and dear to my heart as a psychiatrist. And the way that you do that is developing relationships with patients and working on providing them medical homes so they can be successful.
So I think it's clear what the city's currently doing is not working. Sweeps are not the answer. We have to get folks into housing first. The number 1 policy is to make sure that those who are currently unsheltered get into housing first, and then we get them the treatment that they need. Then we help get them back on their feet. The second policy is driven by my conversations with folks at DESC, folks at Neighbor Care, who serve these folks, who go into camps, who go into transitional housing. And they say we need more case managers and we need nurses. We need to help folks get on their feet because 3 months of assistance right now is not cutting it. And the last thing we need to do is have data-driven solutions. I look at this as a public health crisis. And like any epidemic or outbreak, we need to have data-driven solutions. Make sure that there's coordination with those who are providing care on the ground level. Get the services that they need. Make sure people get the mental health and assistance that they need now. Use data-driven solutions. Don't just throw money at a problem.
So prior to my time at the Tenants Union, I was actually working the Homelessness Prevention Division at Solid Ground, a social service agency. And if there's one thing that I've learned is that there needs to be an interim survival strategy that homeless folks face while we build more affordable housing. Now, I want to thank the folks who supported the Lipton Springs sanctioned encampment up here in North Seattle. I think that shows the compassion of this community. And I fought for that same rights for homeless folks to live down in an encampment in Othello. But it's not enough. We have to have more low barrier options because the issue is that a lot of folks with substance abuse simply can't get into shelter because they're currently addicted. We are talking about creating Seattle's first safe consumption sites. And what I would like to see is the city marry those two strategies together so that at homeless encampments that have low barriers, we can also have safe consumption sites so that folks can start taking those baby steps to actually get towards stability. We must stop the sweeps immediately. And thank you very much.
Obviously, the homeless issue is a really difficult one to deal with. And it's compounded by many, many different problems with regards to mental health, drug abuse, poverty. It'd be nice if there was one root cause for this problem that we could tackle and fix it. It's just not quite that simple. It's going to require a comprehensive solution. We're going to have to approach it from many different angles. Specifically, though, I am very much in support of low barrier entry options for treatment for these kind of individuals. And obviously, housing is very important. These are the individuals we're talking about that have the very least and the least means of being able to pick themselves up and and get on, with their future. So we need to find better solutions for these people. And the basis of my platform is to work with the communities in establishing new policies that we can move forward with and find real solutions.
There's 3 solutions that I think would be helpful. First, low-hanging fruit. Let's ban the box to housing applications. We've got way too many qualified tenants who'd be able to get housing if we weren't using their past in order to keep them from it. Another one is increase the capacity for those participating in the MFTE program. Right now we've got Jebediah Gardner with On Point Realty, who is soon this spring opening up a property in the central area where those who are making less than $19,000 will be able to have affordable housing. We can house them. And then finally, enforce the civil rights. We simply know that 60% of those who are currently on the voucher program are being discriminated against because of their race, ethnicity, national origin. Let's just enforce the law. Those are easy things to solve and help the homeless crisis that we're facing. Other solutions that we can employ is making sure that we engage the communities. One of the problems with the Holler recommendations is that we didn't have the right people at the table. We need real solutions.
Thank you. If we had all the answers, we'd have it solved right now, right? So what are we going to do that's different? We have to have a multi-spoke approach to this, and mental health is one of them. We cannot ignore the issues that are going on for people who are chronically unable to find housing and who are living on our streets. It is painful, and like I said before, it is inhumane to think that this is a solution to have someone living in a tent. It is not a solution, and it is not how we as people who care for other people should be living. We need to get more mental health beds. We don't have mental health beds. We barely have enough doctors and nurses and hospital beds. Keep in mind, we have a catastrophic event in Seattle. We're not prepared. We need to think about this as a catastrophic event. If it's called a state of emergency, then by golly, let's address this like it's a state of emergency.
All right. So, no, you haven't answered the homelessness question, have you?
No?
Oh, Trying to get out of that one.
Okay, I did talk about it last time in my answer. Yes, that's right. Yes, it is a crisis, and I do think we need to treat it like a state of emergency. I think that I am against the sweeps. I am very, it saddens me that these people's things are being taken away, and many of them don't have the means to track their things down afterwards. I think we have to lower the barriers. We have to, I volunteered myself for the tiny house villages. I really believe in that program. 160 people from that program have already gone into permanent housing, and many of them have gotten jobs. So I'm a big believer in that program. I mean, I had teams from my campaign out slinging a hammer a couple of weekends ago helping build them. And I think we need to ask, build more tiny home villages, and we need to, I am a believer in the safe consumption sites. We have to lower the barriers. We can't expect people to pull themselves together when they don't even have a safe place to be.
All right, great minds that are better than mine that have been working on this, and so I will just echo that we need to really look at what's working and what isn't. Clearly, we've been at this problem for a long time, and we've got a number of recommendations from the Poppy report that we need to take a serious look at, and first of all, reform what we're doing wrong, and then improve. Get people into different forms of housing, rapid rehousing, housing first, etc. We also need to take a good look at some of the causes. I believe that violence against women and youth violence are a couple issues that lead to homelessness, and there are a lot of families that are living in cars, and we could do a lot more in the violence prevention front first and foremost. So I think that if we all get together, we might be able to solve this problem, but it's a tough one and complicated.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move now into the lightning round. So please get your cards and stand up so everybody can see. And let's start with the first question. Do you support the Hala Grand Bargain? Number 2, many U.S. cities charge a 5% one-time developer impact fee to pay for infrastructure so that growth pays for growth. Would you support a 5% developer impact fee for Seattle? Okay, number 3. Seattle lacks 11,000 block fronts of sidewalks, 2/3 of them north of 85th Street, dating to when the area was annexed in 1954. Are you willing to make accessible, safe sidewalks for all a higher priority? Number 4. Would you support a zoning change to allow a limited number of duplexes and triplexes in single-family neighborhoods? Number 5. Seattle's tree canopy is quickly shrinking. Would you support restoring a tree canopy goal in the Comprehensive Plan 2035? Number 6. Do you support an income tax for the City of Seattle as a test case for the State Supreme Court? Number 7. Would you lobby for changing the state law that currently prohibits rent stabilization? Number 8. The North Police Precinct serves 40% of Seattle's residents. Do you think the people of Seattle would be better served by 2 smaller precincts instead of the bunker? Number 9. Would you support requiring developers to have at least 25% of their buildings to be affordable to working people?
Whoops. So excited.
Number 10, do you support the current city policy regarding the sweeps of homeless encampments? And our last question, only Democrats are eligible to be endorsed by the 46th District Democrats. Do you consider yourself a Democrat? All right. We very much appreciate your attention, everybody, and the candidates to take time to play.
Sort of filter out now so we can jump to the next part of the session. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Good luck.
Can you hear me?
No, we need the mic. So we have a question to respond to. Yes, you can, but you're going to have to raise your hand.
Can you hear me okay? So, Lorraine is not here.
Just a moment, please. Okay, so this is the third and final forum of the evening. We just have one candidate joining us this evening for Seattle City Council, position 9. His name is Eric Smiley, and I would ask him right now, in his best 1-minute elevator speech, to tell us why he's running for office and describe his priorities for City Council.
Well, let's just first say there's no debate, because Ms. Gonzalez wasn't here. My name is Eric Smiley, and I'm running for seat 9 on the Seattle City Council. I need to read my card.
Can you read up? Could you stand up?
We need affordable housing with all the tools in our belt. Mother-in-law attachments, backyard cottages, higher density zoning, apartments, and lower square footage. We need free preschool like Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Antonio, Tulsa, Miami, London, Paris, and Berlin. We need to change police perceptions. Providing police safety, public safety, is really the mission. We should call it the Public Safety Department. President Obama sent me a letter last year. He told me to take pride in the way you've touched lives over the course of your career. I I wrote him back that I had more to do. There's a big hole across from City, here's the letter right here. There's a big hole across from City Hall, and there's a big hole in City Hall. We should fill that hole with affordable housing. We should design something that works for the city that way, the way we want the whole city to work. Visit selectsmiley.com, please, and I would appreciate your support and the Democrats' endorsement. Like I said, there's no debate about who should be your seat 9 representative. Thank you all very, very much.
Okay, we have some questions for Mr. Smiley, so if you'll just bear with us. And could I have some quiet in the back, please? A little respect for a forum that's still going on. Thank you. In his recent book, The New Urban Crisis, scholar Richard Florida describes that Seattle, like other successful city technology hubs, is experiencing a crisis of growing inequality and segregation, rising housing prices, and displacement of the poor as well as the middle class. He argues that local officials must now take the lead on solutions. What new policies would you support to ensure a sustainable, livable city that accommodates and values all its residents?
First of all, I would go with more mass transit so people can get around easier, there's less crowding. We need higher density apartments. I live down at Pioneer Square in the Bread of Life Mission, and we've got people in bunk beds. We fit about 100 people into a room this size. And it's not the best, but it's a home. So we need the ability to put more people in smaller spaces. And that's one of the ways I would do it. Now, many of those, at least I'd say 36, 3 dozen have jobs and have livings and are staying at the Bread of Life Mission. So this is not a unique idea. This is something that we all should consider, how we can pack more people into tighter spaces. It's not the worst life in the world. Do I have more time? Yes. SelectSmiley.com. That's my website.
Okay, question number 3. Homelessness is a multifaceted problem with different strategies required for existing different populations. Name 3 policies you would support to house people and families experiencing homelessness.
Well, I think socialization is a big part. I work at the First United Methodist Church Shared Breakfast on Sundays, and it's interesting to see how people come in there, they know each other, they get a chance to sit and talk and socialize, and they don't often have that opportunity. So having a place to meet and talk to other people and not just sit by yourself on a street corner is a big difference. So that's one of the things I would do. I would also look at opportunities to go reach out. You have to reach out with the services. I think they're putting porta potties near the tent cities. They're bringing showers to those areas. Those are all important steps. And I think just visiting and finding out what their needs are. Just visiting and talking to people, go out with a clipboard. Hi, how are you? What can we do for you?
Okay, Mr. Smiley, we let you know that because of time constraints, we were not going to be able to get through all the lightning round questions, but there are just a couple I'd like to ask you. First of all, do you support the hologram bargain? Yes or no?
Waffle.
Okay. Would you support a zoning change to allow a limited number of duplexes and triplexes in single-family neighborhoods?
Yes, I would.
Do you support an income tax for the city of Seattle as a test case for the state Supreme Court?
Yes, I would. And I would also have
it was just a yes or no answer, thank you. Only Democrats are eligible to be endorsed by the 46th District Democrats. Do you consider yourself a Democrat?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for staying with us. I appreciate it. SelectSmiley.com.
Thanks so much. And I'd just like to thank everybody here tonight. You've been a terrific audience. Exceeded my expectations, and I'm vastly relieved. Thank you so much.
And can we give it up for Philip and Passover for... Awesome. Thank you so much, Philippa, and to Betsy for getting us kicked off this evening. So yay. Now we get to the fun
part, which is our official business for the night. Yeah, woohoo!